All right, guys, welcome back to another video. In this, we're going to jump into a part of the Financial Calculations Worksheet that is the financial freedom number. I don't really know a great place in the course to introduce this because I think it applies across the board. But as we're talking about debt in particular, and how much should we be investing versus how much should we be using to pay off debt, so on and so forth, it's a good conversation to have. It's good to be intentional about it. But at the same time, maybe it doesn't matter a whole lot. Essentially, the only thing that matters is how much you're saving and investing, and then how much your expenses are going to be later on in life. So your expenses and how much you're saving, and there are some other factors, but those are the most important, the ones that you can control. So I created this. Now, there are a lot of calculators out there on Google. A lot of people have created similar types of calculators or spreadsheets to say, hey, what's your magical number? Like, what's your financial freedom number? I created this one, but if you don't like it, that's fine. There's plenty of others. Okay. This is just to give you an idea and kind of to be a template so you can play around with it. Okay. So let me just run through the basics and introduce how this is and how it works. So just like the other spreadsheets, the only numbers that you change, the only cells you change are these ones right here. Okay. The ones in red. Everything else, just leave it. They're just to be observed because they're attached to all types of formulas and stuff. So we have current age, annual expenses, annual savings, your withdrawal rate in the future, how much you are going to withdraw. I'll talk about it in a minute. Your current savings, your rate of return, and then your inflation rate. And then down here, we have the annual income gap, which is how much income you need to make up for in the future when you quit your job, presumably, and don't have an income. So it matches your annual expenses. And this calculates the total amount of money that you will need based on how much you're spending every year, your withdrawal rate. That's basically it. How much you're spending and what your withdrawal rate is, okay? And then here is the inflation adjusted rate of return. So obviously we all know inflation is a thing, and the bag of Cheetos that we buy today is going to cost more money in the future, when we're retired. And so if we want to account for the impact of inflation, we can either increase our annual expenses by the rate of inflation. So instead of having just 75,000 and saying, I'm going to spend 75,000 in 20 years, we would actually increase it by the rate of inflation each year. So, in 20 years, we're spending 125,000, whatever that might be. Okay. So you can do it that way. The way I've chosen to do it here is I'm essentially factoring in inflation to the rate of return. So I'm saying, hey, this is our rate of return, but with inflation, our real rate of return is this. So that's the calculation. There's a calculation to figure that out. So I've done that here. So your actual inflation adjusted rate of return is 4.85%. If you have an 8% rate of return, 3% inflation, it's actually this. So it's not just straight subtraction, it compounds. So as we look at this, right, these years change as you change your age. Okay. So this is like you're right now. Okay. If you're 35, it'll change, and you're right now right here still, okay? And it goes on down through the ages. I haven't put all the ages because hopefully you're retired by this point, but just saying. Annual expenses, so this is where you pull your number from your spreadsheet. Probably if you want to look at survival expenses and say, like, what's the minimum amount I need to live each year, then you can put that number in. More than likely, you want to be somewhat comfortable and actually have some money to do other things with besides just survive. So you might throw in your thrival budget there, and maybe even include your giving, ratio. So that's up to you. I'll let you decide, but you can play around with it. Annual savings, again, this is how much you're putting towards building wealth. This is not savings for other short-term needs or anything like that. This is the future ratio. This is all for wealth building for the future to create freedom. The withdrawal rate, the reason this is 4% is, traditionally speaking, in the stock market, when you have a portfolio, when your whole portfolio is invested in stocks, that's generally the rule of thumb. You're able to withdraw 4% of that portfolio each year without running out of money, okay? Because your investment return is going to vary, sometimes up, sometimes down. And so if you start spending too much and you eat into the principal amount of your portfolio, obviously at some point you're going to run out of money. Whereas if you're only spending the gains every year and you leave your principal intact, essentially that could live on forever, theoretically, because you're just only spending what that portfolio earns. So because most people are a little bit more conservative in retirement, with their investments. They say about a 4% withdrawal rate on your portfolio is safe. Some people are saying that's now maybe 3%, but there you have it. 4% is a very common rule of thumb. In the next video, so I'm going to leave that here really quick. Actually, I'll just explain this. So as you go year by year, okay, this is your savings per year that's added in here, your total savings. So this is your current savings, year by year, plus the new savings each year, plus the rate of return. And then this shows your funds needed. So based on these expenses and this withdrawal rate, you're going to need $1,875,000 in your portfolio to be able to stop working and just live on your wealth. That's what that equation means. So funds needed at this point, we need this much. Okay. And then each year, this is going to go down as your portfolio increases, as you continue to add money to it. And then you're going to get to the point here where this is the point where you can retire. So in this scenario with these numbers currently in there, this is the funds needed. Once it goes negative, essentially you've arrived. So in this scenario at age 62, you're ready to retire because you have the amount of money you need to draw 4% from forever and not run out of money, theoretically speaking. Again, nobody knows the future. It's just projections, but this will get you in the ballpark and really get you understanding how much money you need so you can kind of quantify it. Okay. So that pretty much explains how this tool works. In the next video, I'm going to walk through some scenarios and show you how the variables influence each other and which are the most important to pay attention to. So we will see you in the next video.
Financial freedom starts with knowing your number.